I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. All right, man. Let's tell everybody who you are.
My name is Benjamin Thibeault, and I was with, I think it was, I'd say PFC at the time of 2004 with Weapons Company 81's Rainmaker. First section. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, wherever you want to start, if you.
Yeah. So just we had I think Cackley I was listening to his and starting it off, and you're going to Hawaii. So we were in Hawaii for 3 days, and then lo and behold, you're going to Iraq. So I don't really remember what led up to that whole thing, but I just remember we were there for like 3 days, and and shipped us over to Pendleton. It's like you got a month, and then you're off. So that was I didn't really know how to process it. I just was listening and abiding by the hazing that went through when we first arrived at both Hawaii and Pendleton. So just do what the hell you're supposed to do, and that's what I did. And we did a lot of gear checks. And
that's funny. I was going to say you're both the most lucky and unlucky Marines that I know of. You got hazed twice.
Yeah,
but you got to see Hawaii for 3 days.
Yeah, it was it was funny because we got after SOY and Geiger, they said Hawaii. So we went out to Hawaii. And for some reason, like, we just did not wear our alphas. And it was like me, Watkins, I think Forky, Cackley, List, all them. We just weren't in our alphas at the airport. We get to the airport, and they are just ripping us a new one in the airport. And I'm like, what are we? And then, like, why aren't you in your alphas? I'm like, no one told us anything specific, which is bizarre. And then after that, we get to Hawaii, and like every hour on the hour is like formation. So they were pretty happy to see new Marines there. And then they find out we're leaving. So they were pretty bummed about that. But yeah, I got us an introduction to the fleet pretty quick.
That sounds like a perfect 2-4 story too.
Yeah.
Just being upside down, backwards, like what the fuck?
Yeah. So yeah.
Also, I find it interesting that you pronounce hugging as hazing. That's really interesting that you.
Did I say hugging?
Because as far as I'm concerned, all we did was just give you guys nothing but warm hugs.
You guys
welcome aboard.
Right. You guys are tame. The Hawaiian Marines is like they've never seen a new recruit or new member of the fleet. So they was like, oh, look at new meat. So all those stories of new meat were true. Yeah.
Prison rules, right?
Yeah, prison rules. That's right. Yeah. Then
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, so remind me, so that timeline gets you to Pendleton in time for March Air Force Base, correct?
Yeah, we came in like after Ackles and Akers came. We were like 2 weeks ahead of them. So we had already been to Pendleton for a couple of weeks prior to us actually going, I believe, to March Air Force Base. I think they were just dropped there hence in the midst of our training. So we actually had a tiny bit of a workup. I think we had a BZR weapon a week before, something like that. So yeah, it was quick, man. It was just a lot of very, very hazy and very there's a lot I just do not remember. I just remember getting there, doing gear checks and BZOing, and then March Air Force Base, and then we were gone. So
because you did boot camp right after high school, right?
So, no, I did 4 years off. A big reason why I went to boot camp is I took 4 years off after high school and wasn't really finding what I needed to do. So
you were another older Marine. That's interesting.
Yeah. They call me the old man of the Marine Corps. Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
That's funny. That's exactly what I did too. I joined I joined at 22 as well. So me and you are very similar.
Yeah. Right.
I was doing fine professionally, but I just wasn't enjoying the way things were going and whatever. But yeah, that does make it's a weird perspective when you're older than literally everybody else in boot. Well, not everybody, but almost everybody in boot camp and SOI, and you can buy beer. So
yeah, they got me in trouble once. So we'll say that story for later. But yeah, that's true.
Okay,
yeah, so it was like.
Well, just I find that very interesting. There's been quite a few guys that were older coming into it all. I mean, obviously 9/11, I'm sure, helped shift that pretty dramatically. But that's I wonder if that's some of our success for weapons company is that not only did we have some older people, but
Right.
like literally older.
Right.
And maturity, as we all know, helps out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I graduated high school and I literally had nothing, nothing. I work in a restaurant and it was just a lot of drinking, a lot of doing stupid shit. And yeah, I got into a bad accident, like my car 2 weeks, about 2 months before I actually left. So that was like kind of my call to action. Like, all right, I got to get out of here because it's not going to go good. So nothing like on the deathbed or anything, but I had to make a decision. And my cousin was a MP down in Cherry Point. So I visited him, just fell in love with it, and I'm like, I got to do this. Makes most sense. And went to the recruiter, and sure enough, I had to lose a bunch of weight. I was pretty overweight when I joined, so
Oh, really?
that was not easy. That was a wake up call. So yeah, so that took a process, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's go back to the training piece, though. Do you have any memories of March Air Force Base?
I mean, I just remember, no, vaguely, very, very, very. I mean, I remember like the actual outline of March Air Force Base, but as far as like what we did specifically day to day, I don't even maybe 3 days we were there, 2 days. It was just so like the stuff was coming at so quickly that to be specific about certain things, and unless you guys jog my memory, I mean, that might help. But I saw we were there.
I wasn't. I didn't
Oh, you
go to
weren't
that
there?
one. No, I
Oh,
wasn't.
okay. Oh,
No, I was
okay.
doing other training.
That's right.
I was at Arabic school at that point.
Gotcha.
So
Oh, that,
maybe
yeah.
not jog your memory, but just to remind you, they had it set up to where we were sleeping in a modified forward operating base, more or less. We had a couple of Humvees just so we could do
Right.
some vehicle mounted posts, but we really didn't patrol with the vehicles in any way. We did mostly foot patrol type stuff,
Right.
and they had a ton of role players that were playing local
Right.
populace,
Right.
as well as not just local populace, but also local Iraqi police or fake Iraqi police. And then they initially we just did like a bunch of scenarios: shoot, no shoot, how to run a vehicle checkpoint,
Right.
how to run a gate, which I don't know. I mean, that was great, but I don't know, I don't know how useful it was.
Right.
And then a lot of patrolling techniques, satellite patrolling, how to evacuate a casualty in the middle of an urban environment. What's your best strategy? Things like that. A lot of it was good initial mental fuel for what we did later, but I would agree that none of it really strikes me. Like I don't remember any great memories from March Air Force Base. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, that's you nailed it, man. That's a good interpretation of it. But yeah, I don't remember. I remember everything else after March Air Force Base, as far as like when we boots on the ground in Ramadi and even Kuwait. But yeah, that March Air Force is kind of a blur.
Cool.
But I'll take your word for
it. Well, we went back to Pendleton and then we came back to March Air Force Base to fly out. So kind of what do you remember from that?
Again, I just remember the plane ride over. I think Ackles mentioned that too. But yeah, that was a thing. Getting on that plane for 17 hours, I believe, and just I remember specifically having to sit there and obviously no electronics or anything except for your Discman, and then having to go to the bathroom. You have to step up and then walk across the middle way, and just people throwing stuff at you, especially the new guys. Good luck walking through that herd. So yeah, we got toughened up pretty quick. So yeah, that's what I remember specifically walking to the bathroom, and that was only one bathroom on the plane. So that was an event. And trying to sleep, and it just didn't work. Yeah.
So coming into Kuwait, we were there for a little bit. Do you have any specific memories of Kuwait?
Yeah, me and Akers were on a lot of fire watch. I remember that specifically. So yeah, we did a lot of fire watch. And then obviously when the training, just the patrols here and there. But like I said, nothing. It's so vague. And then I remember listening to Dobb talk, and he jogged me. I'm like, yeah, we did have a suicide over there.
Yeah.
Right as we left, and I'm like, that's kind of welcomed. Like that's just things like that were the only kind of like just doing the basic training, and then that really resonated with me, and I just was like, that wow, like that shit's real now. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind was. And after that happened, I was like, then we're going. So get on the 131, I believe, and then we flew from Kuwait to Al Assad, I think. And I was on the first. I wasn't on the advanced party, but we went all together for the majority of us. But
Okay.
yeah,
So you flew with Garcia and all those guys that flew into Al Assad and then got picked up, I believe, by 7 tons is
yes,
what
yeah,
other people have said.
yep, on 7 tons, and yeah, we went right over to Hurricane Point. So the drive there just didn't. It was surreal. It was like, I've never obviously been in this part of the world, and it's hard to imagine where we're going. And it just seemed like we were just doing another training op. You think about it, but yeah, Hurricane Point, here we come. So got there unscathed, which was nice. And we just the advance party was already there, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, motors are coming in, blah blah blah. This is what you got to do when this happens." And I'm like, "Okay." So we're just kind of day by day, and then yeah, so we get there and set up, and kind of yeah, basically what my recollection of that getting there. Everything else is just kind of, like I said, hazy in that regard. But I remember taking the 7 tons there, and that really kind of opened, set up, what was to come. So
Any first impressions of either Ramadi, the city, or the people that you saw, or Hurricane Point?
we came at night, so there wasn't obviously just the lights of the city. But just driving through, the smell, the distinct smell of, is it burning trash or just whatever. You guys all know that smell. And just getting into Hurricane Point and just going to the hooch. Yeah, there's really specifics at that point. No, just seeing everyone, and then day to day, and just waiting until what our mission was called. So yeah.
So if I can't remember who had brought it up before, but I didn't really think about the working parties that we would have put the junior guys on to get things ship shape over there. Were you put on any of those early ones to get our area beautified?
Yeah, it was sandbag duty, man. That was it. It just filled sandbags relentlessly. I think it was just basically Regelsberger's like, yeah, build this smoke pit. All right, so just build. I wasn't like intentionally, oh, we're gonna fortify the area now. It's like, we're gonna build a smoke pit, so we just need you to fill sandbags, and then whatever's left, we'll just put on the burn. And so yeah, smoke pit was that was kind of a must do in the beginning, which we needed to build that more than anything else. So I remember time doing that.
Priorities, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helped. And that was like, that smoke pit was the beacon of hope every time we come back to Hurricane Point. That smoke pit was really, where we'd all congregate and tell stories and whatnot. And, smoked a lot of cigarettes, which
That's my next question. Did you smoke? Did you smoke back in that day?
I did. I was a smoker before. And then just and I didn't really smoke, obviously in boot camp and obviously in training. But once we got to the fleet, it was kind of hesitant. And then we get to Iraq, and then everybody, who smoked were smoking, so it became like a rite of passage. Yeah, so yeah, I smoked quite heavily, and those good Haji cigarettes too. They had the Miami's, and those were oof. They tasted good at the time, but I don't think I'd ever want to have that again. But
no,
oh man, I disagree. Those did not taste good at the time either. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm just psyching myself up, man. I know they taste like shit.
they burned worse than taking a straight shot of Everclear.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just trying to make myself feel better. Yeah, having a cigarette. But no, those Miamis were no joke. But they were always available when you went on patrol. You could find them at any Haji shop. It's like, oh yeah, and 10 cents a pack. It's like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you filled a lot of sandbags. Did you?
Yep.
What I remember of the working parties, there was a lot of trash, ton of trash just buried in and around the hooches. So we ended up making like a garbage mountain out between where we were living and the North Bridge, and then lighting that on fire, and it burnt for, I don't even know, 10 days or whatever the hell it was. It burnt forever. I'm sure we all will get service-connected lung cancer claims just specifically for that fire,
Right.
not for the cigarettes that you smoked.
Right.
It will be it'd be because of that trash fire.
Right.
And then we had some makeshift roofs, and we started getting vehicles. When did you kind of get assigned to a team or a squad or anything? How did you know where to be and who to be with?
So now this is where the memory kicks in. So we were assigned. I think it was my first truck. It was McNaughton. And I want to say Leighton was the driver, and then in the back it was like me, Bowers. I want to say Lalong, And I remember for the first time going out a couple times, we would just drive relentlessly through the city without any SOP, it seems, just driving. And then McNaughton, I don't know if you ever get behind a wheel with him, but he just would drive like he's just NASCAR Indy. He's just flying through, wherever he needed to go. And we're seeing all the cops like burning trash, and just it just seemed like we were making stuff up to do it, I guess, at the time, because we were just driving out there for no apparent reason, or at least they didn't tell us what we were doing, just to make sure that we're being vigilant and whatnot. So
Sure.
yeah, that was my first truck. I remember specifically, before April 6th, that was kind of that was our intent. And I remember one night, I think Dob had told us, all right, we're going out. We get out the gate, like with, I think maybe 10 yards, 10 meters maybe. And all of a sudden the sandstorm just kicks in. I mean, it was like bad. It was like the only one I really remember. And it just, you couldn't see. So he's like, we got to turn back around. And then we get back to I think all the map platoons and Sledgehammer were back there, and the hooches were just, the tarps are coming off, and we were all having like a huge working party to get everybody to get those tarps back on. Stuff was flying everywhere. But yeah, that was a bad sandstorm, and we had to come back. And I don't know how quickly into it was, but I remember we still had the tarps on the tops of the hooches, so that made for some interesting times when we got back. But yeah, it was bad.
I forgot about that, but I do remember because I think it was yours that it ripped off of.
Yeah, Cifuentes' stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
I think ours.
I think ours stayed on, but I remember at least two of them. I think it might have been the empty one too. That
right,
the roof got ripped off.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's one of the reasons why we really pushed to get the ceilings put on. Because it wouldn't have been much past that we got the roof panels put on.
Yeah, I don't know if the mortars had anything to do with it, but yeah, it was definitely pretty quickly after that we had the metal or the roofs, the permanent roofs, as opposed to the tarps. But it didn't seem like a good idea to have tarps, but whatever.
Those little 2-inch metal panels wouldn't have done much against those mortars either. Yeah,
no. The false sense of illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it was just kind of it's weird because I was never wanting to get into the shit. That was never my thing. It was just like I at one point, it being so new, I'm like, we were told to get over there. And I remember talking to Rudy one day because I was, my bunk was right next to him. I'm like, man, when are we gonna see anything? What is it? What are we doing here? And then he's just kind of assuring me, he's like, yeah, we're just here doing what we got to do. And I'm sure eventually we're gonna get into some stuff, but no one could really picture what was going to happen. But yeah, it was just kind of a wait and see kind of thing. That's how I took it. And then shit got real pretty quick.
Well, that's actually a good point. How much did you understand about, because we got briefs,
right? But
how much did you really understand about the overall mission that we were initially assigned?
So when I was in SOI, that's when they had got Saddam, halfway through my training, and like, cool, this is great. No, I guess Iraq's no longer a threat. Then I come to find out when we get to Hawaii, they're like, you guys are going to Iraq. And I'm like, what the hell are we going to Iraq for? And, they kind of, let us know we're going to be doing like some stability operations, to make sure that they're going to be able to govern themselves. And so, yeah, kind of like you're just going to be there as a beacon of hope and beacon of peace, per se. And then that's kind of how they made it sound. And we're just going to be there to, help the people that, govern themselves and whatnot. So, yeah.
It's really funny. If I was ever going to send a beacon of hope or beacon of peace, I would not send infantry Marines.
No, I agree. I agree.
that would not be my first choice.
Right. No, so it was, so it didn't really resonate with me, like what our actual mission was. And then once we get into the training, and then they kind of, let us know this is what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Well, you kind of hit on some of those early missions. Just to frame it in your mind, we got there March 6th, and then the beginning of the biggest chunk of the first Battle of Ramadi was April 6th. Mm-hmm. So there's about 30 days in there, and there's a few things that happened, and a couple of them might jog your memory. We were there about a week, and that's when Golf Company McPherson had his injury to his jaw, where it blew his jaw off from an IED. And then not long after that, about a week after that, was the bike IED that hit Sledgehammer, and Worth was wounded.
Yep.
So Now, again, you were brand new, so maybe you didn't have a whole lot of interactions with Worth, but he was part of your platoon, so I imagine that was unusual.
Yes.
And then the first big event that I've got for your platoon, just specifically because I know Hodges was in your
Mhm.
was in Rainmaker as well, was Lance Corporal Dang from Fox Company was killed by an RPG, and you guys were sent out as QRF.
Right.
Any
Yeah.
memories
Good.
of any memories of any of that early stuff?
Yeah. So actually, it's with that whole thing. My really good friend of mine, he's really my wife and his wife, Dean Kugliata. I believe he was his driver, or he was I can't remember what, but yeah, he was in the truck with Dang, and
Okay.
he was sent home early. So that was kind of hearing stories from him when we got back, what he'll talk about. But yeah, yeah, just being in the QRF, nothing specific about that moment, but yeah, like I said, it's those first 30 days are just so it just seems so, and especially 22 years later, even hearing what you guys are talking about now, it's
Right.
just like wow, it's like kind of coming back. But once we get closer to like the fifth or the sixth, that's when stuff really starts getting okay. Now it's starting to get back, but I'm not sure if I purposely block this stuff out or if it just doesn't, just everything kind of rolled together so quickly that, these specific moments, obviously when injury, these injuries, and it's just so much to take in, and emotions are just
Well, and
almost to the roof.
that's 100% the case. I mean, so much of it is just back to back. A lot of it just blends into one another because it all seems the same. And then also with being a new guy, you didn't have any frame of reference. You weren't making any decisions. There wasn't
Right.
these bullet points that were coming across being like, okay, well,
Right.
here's when this was shifted to here or whatever.
Right.
But at this time, to the best of your memory, were you're performing a dismount function
Right.
from the back of the truck and stuff like that. So that was
Right. And we were the second to last. We were in, so I think at that point, Hodges was my team leader at that point. And then, who was my driver? It wasn't Calderon yet. I think it was still McNaughton. And then when Hurley and Holm got hurt, we switched over to Calderon, became my driver, and then Aponte became my team leader. So we got shifted around quite a bit. So that's where everything kind of becomes. What event or what time during the deployment did you have this team leader? Because we had to make some, on the fly. They had to change the trucks around quite a bit due to
right.
the casualties and the evacs and whatnot. So that was, but at the same time, and I was going to make this a point of reference that none of this could be done without the junior leadership there, sergeants, corporals, lieutenants. It just seemed like, and even like the, lance corporal squad leaders, just the constant just adapting. And I think it's unheard of, I guess. And just because no one knew, no one had, regardless of how much training you had, you can't prepare for anything like that. And just to call that, I mean, just quickly, like how we adapted and just, you got to go here, just, on the fly, not being over zealous and just always taking into account the younger Marines, or junior Marines, you know, that they, it was incredible. I was just blown away by that leadership, and it just, made you believe that everything was going to be whatever. If it wasn't good, but it made you feel like it was always going to be good, and they always had your back and whatnot. So, I mean, it was a huge reason why we were successful, in my opinion, is the, junior leadership.
I'll agree with that, especially now. This is not my expertise. I would lean over to Blake, but as far as my understanding of the way a mortar platoon is meant to be organized, almost everybody was performing a task billet or job that was 1 to 2 ranks above what they actually were.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's supposed to be like a gunnery sergeant as your platoon
Yeah.
sergeant. Like
Right.
it's not, and it's you had Sergeant Garcia, right? So
Garcia
like
and Leighton. Yeah.
yeah, and Leighton,
Yep.
who picked up Sergeant, I think when you got there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or shortly there before.
Right. And then
Yeah.
I mean, Hodges was a Lance Corporal, but Hodges, like he got thrusted into like, almost like Sergeant Major in a way. But no, he was he made a name.
He was a 7th award Lance Corporal.
No, he quickly made a name for himself amongst us, and it was like, he put us where we needed to be, and he added a lot of needed hilarity and just his stories, although it may not have always been 100% accurate, he did add a lot of humor and putting us at ease back in the hooch. So he was definitely a sight for sore eyes at times. But yeah, it was just in general the camaraderie and the inside the hooch was just, it was like even the day would have sucked being out there for 12 hours. You come back and it's like nothing happened. It was you just bit. Everyone just always had a seemingly positive attitude, even when shit hit the fan. Come back to that hooch, go to the smoke pit, and get ready for the next day. It was just it made things a lot easier, having that, because everyone's new. No one's been there before. No one has been in this environment before, so everyone's kind of almost like an equal in a way. So that really helped out, especially the junior Marines, in my opinion. That it just seemed so much more seamless, and not have to worry about disappointing people just because there's no way you could, because everyone's there doing their thing and they had to do it. So
Yeah.
So being back in the hooch, like you're kind of touching on this. I'm curious, go a little bit further with that of how did you occupy your time? I mean, obviously the smoke pit was a place that a lot of people spent a lot of time, but some people played cards, read, watched movies. How did you while away your time?
Yeah, movies were a big part. I think I got a DVD player. Like, I can't remember going something from home, but yeah, it was movies, and then all we had that shop. I think it was at the front of Hurricane Point, where the guy came in and would sell like bootleg movies and the good stuff. But yeah, we just spend time watching movies, and music was big. And all we had was the Discman, so we really didn't. You had no iPod or anything like that, so you had to kind of carry around like 50 CDs with you, and so that was kind of a whatnot. And then just, like I said, yeah, movies are a big thing, just hanging out and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of taking your mind off what was going on outside the wire, and inside was just kind of like it didn't exist in a way. So it kind of kept that separate. Yeah.
Did you have a movie that you kept going back to as your safety movie, or did you just enjoy just trying to consume as many as you could?
Just as many as nothing specific. But I remember like the front of the hooch was the commish. They were watching the commish for, I think it seemed like the entire time. It was like all Rainmaker would get around, like Hersher and Garcia, and just watch the commish for the entire. It seemed like the entire every time they were watching a movie or a show, it was that, going through each season as best I can. But yeah, whatever came new. I mean, 2003? I can't remember what was out at that point, but yeah, I think maybe Euro Trip or American Pie or whatnot. But yeah, some stupid movies just to kind of take your mind off a lot of the other shit. So yeah.
I don't know why that made me think of it, but I think one of the first times that I ever had to like close my eyes and plug my ears while at a movie theater because I was laughing so hard I was afraid I was going to throw up. Right. Is that Team America came out like something like 2 weeks after we got back from Iraq. Right. Yeah. And I remember going with a bunch of guys and just absolutely like I almost had to leave because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah,
so.
It was that. Yeah, it was actually on here. I was like flipping through and I was like, it showed. I'm like, I haven't seen this movie. And I was like, when you referenced that, I was like, yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, that was a good movie. Great movie. Yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah. I think I still remember the theme song too. It was pretty funny.
You mentioned care packages a little bit. Did you keep in contact with anybody at home, or were you married, or who was?
I had a girlfriend I met prior, or we started dating like pretty quickly before I left. And then my mom was pretty big part of that. So she, sent whatever I needed at the time. Yeah. So that was nice. It seemed like the mail was pretty relatively, they were on top of it. So got what I needed when I needed it. So didn't seem like there was, unless you guys remember, was there ever, maybe a couple mail trucks got hit, on the way too. But as far as, specific mail, I think I got pretty much everything I needed at any time, or obviously when mail was moving at a snail's pace back then, but didn't seem like too many snags happened.
The early part of the war, they hadn't figured out the mail logistics issue. And so those packages were delayed by like a couple weeks.
Right.
But then they straightened it out.
Right.
Those care packages, I mean, they sustained us. There was a couple times that the chow wasn't coming through, and so we were eating out of the care packages more than from the not. Did you have anything specific that you were always asking for? I was always asking for the big giant body wipes.
Yeah, that
instead
was
of the
huge.
small
Yeah,
baby wets that
yeah,
like
that was
my mom was buying the ones that you would get at like retirement homes and stuff like
right.
that. And that
Well,
was
then,
worth its weight in gold.
right. And I remember like people must obviously go to Iraq in the middle of the summer. It's fucking hot as hell. At nighttime, man, it got cold. So we were doing those roof OPs or just, the fire and just when we're down there in the house and we'd occupy the house and we're on our roof like 4 hours. I'm like, my mom, can you, send me some, gloves or whatnot? And I don't think she had a clue what I meant by gloves. So I'm like, I need something really warm and whatnot. So she sent me like gloves without any fingers, like oven mitts almost. So I'm like, specific. I'm like, I need like really warm. And at that point, there's no like Amazon or whatnot. So she's having to scrounge for some stuff at a store, and didn't really make sense of what I needed. So she sends me these oven mitts, and I'm like, yeah, they're warm, but I mean, I can't really hold a rifle with that. So they had a makeshift, but yeah, it was care pack. Yeah, whatever, anything. Obviously, with a lot of any Camel lights I could grab my hands on, as opposed to anything. That was nice to get stateside cigarettes, which was. And
Sure.
candy, whatnot, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That girlfriend
Oh,
wait for you to come home?
She did, and then we didn't work out. So so she's not who I ended up with. So my wife and I know you were close with home for a while, and then actually Dano's the reason why a big reason why me and my wife are together now. So he
Nice.
introduced us.
Oh, really?
So that was back when we got back, and I got in trouble, so I was restricted to the barracks for a couple of weeks. And then she had known Dan, Kyle, and Mike, and then she came over, and that's where I met. So we've been together ever since. So kind of our small, that's right. That's where I met her, through Dano. So it's kind of cool.
I love it.
That's cool, man.
I haven't talked to Dano in a long time, but I know he seems like doing pretty well. So yeah, I'm glad
I love
to
it.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah, last we talked, he seems like he's doing all right down there in
Yep.
New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of like touched on it a couple times, and seems like none of those early missions really strike your memory, but I'll frame it out for you just a little bit of like big things that happened. March 26th was kind of when we started hearing it over the call to prayer that the mosques were calling for the citizens to fight Americans. And then as far as Iraq nation news, the 31st was when the Blackwater contractors were killed and hung from the bridge in Fallujah. And April 1st was when the command element got heavy ambushed and with sledgehammer, and they got into some pretty heavy contact, chased a bunch of guys down through some alleys, and actually got into a pretty good gunfight right then. Right after that was the first weapons company casualty, which was in my platoon. That was PFC Morris.
Yep.
He was killed by an RPG, got hit on the 4th and died on the morning of the 5th. And then on that same day, on April 4th, in Sadr City in Baghdad, that was when the army had the huge eruption. Basically, that was the biggest first like head-to-head battle, thousands versus thousands, and things started happening. And Operation Vigilant Resolve kicked off shortly thereafter on late the 4th, early the 5th in Fallujah. And then April 6th came and everything started for us. So that'll lead in right into your part, sir.
I gotta say, I don't remember if it was just Rainmaker. I don't know if Sledgehammer was part of it either, but I want to say on the 5th is when we had to go deploy the snipers. We were part of that mission to send. I think we are on day task or something. So they wanted us to get the snipers out. It was either the 4th or 5th. I can't remember the exact date, but I just remember that the town was asleep. No one was out, and at that point we had not been out since, we would go out and do our missions and all, but there was always people out. It was always the town. We just drive through that town. It was just, you couldn't literally drive because it was packed. But that specific day, taking those snipers out, I'm just like, it just didn't seem. Obviously, I'm not Monday morning quarterback or no, but like, it just didn't. There was something in the air. It didn't seem right because no one. It was just dead. And then we put the snipers in, and the next day, I remember Dobbs flying into the hooch. It had to have been like 11 a.m. It's like, get the hell up, go. So we were on, I think, day tasks. The other platoons were QRF. So we were day task, and that's when we wanted to go, assist golf company. But that came like, I specifically remember him running in the hooch and be like, get the hell up, go, go. And we just get on the trucks and and that's it. Now we were out.
It's funny.
And
The only thing I remember from March Air Force Base was this stupid phrase that one of the British colonels, or maybe captains, I don't remember his rank. I think he was a colonel though. He kept saying during like the sit down briefs where we were supposed to be learning things about how to fight an insurgency. And he would always say presence of the abnormal, absence of
yes,
the
yeah,
normal.
yep,
And he
yep.
said it like 1,000 times. And it was like
Yeah,
written on every slide and all that
yeah,
shit.
that's
And
true.
it's
That's,
funny you
yeah,
say that because like the city being empty is like absence of the normal. Like, oh
right,
shit, we're under attack. And he was like,
right.
if you keep saying this over and over again, you'll notice it. And they're like, yeah, that's very real. I
Were
don't know
you,
what to do about it.
right. You were a map.
I was map two.
That's right. Were you guys, what were you guys on six? Were you guys QRF or?
Yeah, we were QRF.
Okay.
So the first ones out of the gate was map three. We were
Right.
and so they went south of the city and got engaged. We were second out, went up to the north of the city and ended up surrounded up there trying to get up to reinforce Echo Company.
Mhm.
And then you guys were third out, I think. Or I mean, basically we went out at the same time. I think we all
Yeah.
drove out in one giant convoy at the same time. And
Right.
you guys went south and we went north.
Yep. Yeah, that was a thing, man. And it was like, I would say April 6th, obviously due to what, with Echo Company really kind of solidified where we were. But our being in the the second to last truck, and what the stuff that happened in the front, it's like we're in two different dimensions in a way, because the stuff that was going on in the front, we were just told take rear security, kind of, so all that stuff that was happening in the front, I didn't even, most of the time I couldn't even see it. So we had to kind
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
go on comms back and forth. So our stuff really kicked off for me specifically was the 7th.
Okay.
Yeah, they had Dobbs' first truck when the RPG came out. We're in the back, but we actually ended up going down this alleyway, and Leighton's like, Thibeault, run across the street. These the guys are shooting at us, and like he's just run across the street. So I run across the street, guns pointed out, and then behind me, that's kind of where we took up our post, and then Calderon next to me. So we're waving off guys that are coming toward us in cars, and it was a wild day. I think the 7th more than the 6th for me personally was more memory served better. Just where we were stuck down this alleyway for seemed like 3 or 4 hours, and
Well, go ahead and dig into that, man. That's interesting. Why were you running across the street? Were you running
well, Leighton's
rabbits?
like, I was the one. I was supposed to be the one posting up, obviously posting up for
Okay.
security. But yeah, he's like, yeah, Thibeault, go. So I went, posted up, and then Hodge is behind me, and then Garcia, kind of down that alleyway. So we're just basically the outer cordon. Me and Calderon comes sits right next to me, and we're just keeping people in the vehicles back, because they were kind of coming. Vehicles would kind of creep up, and as soon as we they do the pop shots, and they scare them off, and they turn around. But yeah, I ended up being stuck down that alleyway for 2 to 3 hours. So we were in a kind of a fight, the firefight with at least I don't know how many other guys were down the alley, but it seemed quite a long time, and it didn't seem like we were just pinned down. So it was not fun. Let's just put it that way. And but we got out, and we were able to,
So I guess very, very specifically, just thinking, I mean, you were there for 3 or 4 hours. Were you moving forward, or were you just really securing an area and waiting?
we were just kind of they were popping their heads up, as far as what I
Okay.
remember, what them telling us, and we were seeming just standing there, kind of almost like pinned down, but we didn't really have a way to get out, because I think everyone else is doing their
Sure.
throughout the city. So yeah, we finally got out of there, went back to our, I think, combat outpost, and it was just my mind. It was hard to make sense of what was happening. And we just after that we go back out on foot patrol. And this, like I said, the city everything kind of calmed down after that, at that point. But yeah, just doing foot patrols outside of the vehicles was it was something. So
In that 3 to 4 hours you were covering that alleyway, how much distance do you think you could see? Could you see 2 blocks, 10 blocks, a couple miles?
we were the alley where we came. I wasn't facing the alley where the where the
Sure. Just the part that you
Iraqi.
could see. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've a couple blocks at the
Okay.
most. Yeah, so
And you're mostly getting engaged, largely small arms fire, like
yeah, it was small arms. Yeah,
AKs, pistols, that kind of stuff.
yeah, and they were. It was there was as far as what Garcia and they were saying, popping their heads up and just they finally got him and we were able to get out of there. So I
Good.
just remember like standing firm where I was supposed to be and just kind of like not really having an understanding of what was going on. Like I said, going across, just taking the outside and so
Sure.
just doing what we had to do. So it was yeah.
And I guess that was my next question is, did you personally catch contact at all, or did you just?
We had no, there was a couple vehicles that came up on our pause and, we did the pop shots, the warning shots, and they backed off. But as far as,
Good.
Specifically seeing no, I didn't see where I was at. No, I did not. But
Okay.
a couple of guys, the other guys did. And that was, it was real. And it was, I don't know.
All right. Sounds like you evac a few people, maybe. That'd be my guess, just because there were some golf company casualties for sure. And there was a few weapons company casualties actually on the 7th. And so maybe, I don't know who you were taking to combat outposts, but any of those people could have been and then retooled. Where did you guys go on the foot patrols afterwards? Do you remember much?
I want to either in the soccer stadium or just the government. I mean, I can't remember specifically, but we were down. I mean, so it was me. It was at that point, it was me, it was a Ponte, me and Akers were down this alleyway and just completely nobody's out. And then all of a sudden this car comes out of nowhere. It's like the orange and white, sedan and just drives by us. We're telling him to stop. And then he drives by and then he comes back and, just, we shoot the warning shots and, he kind of seemed like he was just driving by. We weren't sure what was going on. So it was just mixed memories of all these things. And it was hard to really, but yeah, it was, yeah. So.
Any other specific moments stand out? Any other stories of like other people that were next to you? Maybe not even your first person perspective, but like you watched someone do something specifically?
No, like I said, just me at that point, it was, and the 7th, it was just me and Calderon,
Okay.
on the, just, making sure that no one's coming in the perimeter. But yeah, looking back and seeing Hodges and Garcia doing, down that alleyway. But yeah, so it was just kind of, yeah. So I honestly, everything's kind of coming in, and just, yeah, it's hard to explain,
Okay.
at that moment, but yeah. So
Well, here, I'll remind you of a little piece of the pie then. And it's not on the 7th, but it's on the 6th. On the 6th, you guys went out and you reinforced map 3 down in the south of the city, not too far from Easy Street. It sounds like the front vehicle of your convoy or front 2 vehicles caught an ambush, and that was the one where Savage returned fire. Ambush was extinguished. And then you moved on to contact the golf company elements were able to link up, and they were able to evac some of their casualties. Map 3 was evacing some of their casualties. And then at that point, you were free to reinforce us because we were surrounded up in the north of the city. I was with Mobile Assault Platoon 2. I remember when you guys showed up because you guys came in driving like 60 miles an hour, which was hilarious to me. Honestly, we were surrounded and I didn't think anybody could get to us. Like both ends of the street had heavy enemy fire and burning vehicles and all kinds of shit. Anyway, you guys came screaming up and it was wonderful to see. Do you happen to remember coming up into the north area, the Sophia district? It would have been very visually distinctly different from the south of the city. The south of the city was very tight,
right.
House to house. The houses were very close together.
Right.
You could jump from rooftop to rooftop, which is what the enemy often did.
Right.
But in the north of the city, a little more spread out.
Oh, yeah.
Still had the surrounding walls around all the houses, but there were lots of palm trees and a little more space for maneuver.
Right.
You remember coming up the north and linking up with us at all?
I remember. I mean, where we were at when the vehicles stopped. I mean, taking doing the security for that. I remember the berm that we were looking over to make sure that we were protecting and whatnot. But at this, that Sophia, yeah, that was definitely a difference than the actual, the more compacted part of the city. So yeah, specific, yeah, it was, but not, like where you guys were yeah, it's just all these memories, man. I apologize if it's like
No,
not.
no,
No,
that's okay.
no.
I'm trying to pick your brain and
No,
see
you're doing
what
good. You're doing good, Shane. I promise.
Well,
see
and
what pops up.
It's crazy. I'm like, wow. It's like there's specifics that are. I mean, that just are burned into my brain, and then the other ones are just like, I knew I was there. It's just what we did specifically at the time. That's like, wow, So
well, and the point of the asking the questions is to kind of lead you down there up with a memory that doesn't necessarily answer the question. Go ahead and take that memory or that thought process. If you're trying to stop yourself
right,
from remembering something to answer the question, it's more we're asking it more to have you come up with the memory than answer the question, if that makes sense.
right. No, yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
honestly, yeah, it's like when talking about linking up, yeah, just being in the back of being back in the back of the convoy was even harder to remember what was going on in the front. So when we'd stop to to evacuate or to bring the casualties back or whatnot, it's just doing a lot of security and specifically. And then I remember not so much on the 7th, and then on the 8th, I believe is when they called the jihad. I want to say is that after the 7th, and then when they called, and then then more actually happened on the 10th. But going out even after that, when Dan and Hurley and
Okay.
that truck got hit, I
Yeah,
remember
so
that
that's
specifically.
kind of
The truck,
jumping forward into the end of April. But yeah,
right?
that's please, if that's the next thing you remember, please go with it.
Yeah, and then we, driving. It was, I want to say, later on in the evening, and then just driving up a berm, and all of a sudden, we're the truck right behind them, and then boom, and then it was Hurley and Dano and Ackles specifically, and we were security. We were that just and that became we had to that was something that very burn your brain as far as that goes, and that was the first oh shit, because nothing had really happened prior to that, specifically with in the back of it. We have not seen anything like visually like that, and all of a sudden we look and that thing has just went off, and that truck was hit, and that's kind of where my first real oh shit. Obviously, those moments of just adrenaline for 6th, 7th, and 10th, but that moment when Dan and that truck was hit was my first like oh shit moment, where this is now the guys are getting hit, and we were still in the high backs,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
seemed like at that point, I'm like we were in the high backs, for obviously facing outboard, and it's like it didn't make it until the IED started to become more prevalent. Then it's like this is really stupid that we're not in an upper arm vehicle, and then so
Sure.
seeing that happen in real time, and then still didn't change because then a couple of weeks later Savage gets hit, and so it was just a culmination of like, and it almost seemed like, and Hodges almost took not specifically related to the injuries, but he almost wore that like the upper high backs like a badge of honor, like we're gonna take these high backs down Nova, no one else is doing it, so he's like he wore that as like a badge of honor, like yeah we're just we're the toughest group in the my Hodges, no that's not that's not gonna work, we got to get into another vehicle, but yeah, so yeah, just those IEDs specifically were, that those moments of fuck, this is it, and that was tough. That was a tough part.
Well, drilling down just a minute, we'll start with Holm and Hurley. What you were talking about, both of them had to be evac'd from the battlefield. Both went home
Yes.
that day. They did not return.
No, they did not.
Ackles stayed, as far as I know. Even though he was wounded, he stayed.
He
He was
did.
treated out at Junction City and then stayed.
Yep.
Uh, During that particular engagement, I know you guys had to stay on scene for a couple hours afterwards, and we were your responding element. We were QRF, so we came out. Do you happen to remember your role of what was going on while we were trying to figure out how to both get that vehicle out and get those Marines off to medical?
Nothing specific. Nothing specific as far as what we. I remember just sitting out there for, like you said, a couple hours. But yeah, just making sure that they were getting back and what we needed to do to get back ourselves. Because I think after that, I think we went right back to Hurricane Point, and just had to deal with that shit, and then getting the information later that they are not returning. So yeah, that was a tough one. But yeah, I remember, and then nothing as just in general, the security part, but nothing jumps
Sure.
out as far as what we did specifically. I remember I want to say that I don't remember if it was that night, but a vehicle did get stuck somewhere and we had to use those cargo straps to get it. I don't know if it was that specific night, but part of that truck got stuck out there as well. But I'm not sure if that was a reason we had to use the cargo straps to get it out. I don't remember if it was the same night, but why we were out there even longer. But specifically,
Sure.
no, I just, a lot of, the terrain was just, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So.
If you like what you've heard, this is a multi-part episode. Make sure you listen to the rest of the story.